My father lay there on his hospital bed as we watched the evening news on TV together. I could tell he was nervous because he'd hardly said a word. You see, the next morning he had an operation, but not just any operation. He was going to have his leg amputated. Now, if you're diabetic, that's serious. But if you also have a heart condition, it's life-threatening. He knew the operation was a risk, and so did I. Eventually, the news finished. He turned off the TV, and he held out his hand. It was time for me to go. As we shook hands, I looked at him and I just said, "Dad, good luck tomorrow morning." I wanted to tell him that I loved him, but somehow that felt like I was saying goodbye. Then he turned to me and he looked me in the eye and he said, "Son, you need to step up. You need to run this business, because even if the operation goes well tomorrow, I'm going to be in rehabilitation for quite some time. I can't do that from here. You need to take on the business, and you need to do it now." And so just like that, I was running the family business, and not in the best of circumstances. So I like to think of my succession to CEO of our family business more like success because it was unplanned at that moment in time. I was certainly unprepared and at least 10 years too young for the role that I now found myself in. But the only good news is that I was unaware of just how difficult it was going to be. The next morning I got the good news that my father had survived. He was back in his hospital bed recuperating. So it was a huge weight off my shoulders, as you can imagine. But now I had to face up to my new challenge. So I went into the office and I called a meeting of the 12 department heads of our business. You see, we had $120 million in sales. We had 6 locations and 360 staff. And I was now running the show. As people started filtering into the boardroom around the big wooden table, I started checking off mentally what I thought about them. And I realized something. I wouldn't have hired at least half of these people. This was not my team. And I started processing why that was. Entitled, lazy, bad attitude. Mike, Mike's a pretty good guy. In fact, Mike's a really good guy. I got through the meeting as quickly as I could, and at the end, I took Mike to one side. I invited him to join me for a nice pint of beer after work. We met at a local pub and we talked about sport and we talked about family. And then I said, "Mike, I've seen the way you work with your staff. I know that they not only respect you, but they like you. And it's not by accident that your department's the only one that's making profit month after month. I think you could run this business." "What? Run the whole business? But I can't do that. You're the owner. I don't know anything about sales." "Mike, it really doesn't matter whose name's above the door. And I think you and I could make a great team. I think we could get this business back on track. What do you say?" Well, he didn't say anything for what seemed like a very long time. And I just sat there with my beer, praying that he'd finally respond. Eventually, he looked up and he said, "Richard, I won't let you down." I won't let you down. Never have I been so pleased to hear those few simple words. Because you see, now I had a right-hand man. Now I had an ally, and now the business had a chance to survive. Over the next 10 years, Mike and I worked very closely together. And largely because of him and his fantastic man management, we managed to turn the business around from a $3.5 million loss to a healthy profit. We sold that business in 2008. And the lesson that Mike taught me was that actually, as the owner and the leader of this business, you really don't need to have all the answers. What you need is to learn to ask better questions. Because if you surround yourself with great people and then you just get used to asking the right questions, you can achieve amazing results.